Hey, 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 welcome to Conversations with Robbin. Conversations that empower, inspire, and enlighten. Every week, we have different guests on our show where we understand how did they become the person that they are today. So sit back, relax as we deep dive and enjoy the ride. Welcome to Conversations with Robbin. I have Lori. Lori, please remind me your last name again.
Changer.
Lori Changer. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lori, for coming on Conversations with Robbin. Lori is the recipient of the 2023 Educator of the Year Award by the Rise to Greater Heights Foundation and a nominee of the 2022 Global Institute for Empowering Women in the category of education. Lori grew up in a family narrative of addictions, poverty, and abuse, and learned that these experiences actually were her superpowers. Lori is a recognized international motivational speaker and international best-selling compilation author in the series Business Life and the Universe. Last seen speaking live at Cambridge University in the UK and University of Calgary, it is Lori's mission to help people be seen, heard, and understood by realizing that the sky is not the limit, your mindset is. Such a beautiful biography, Lori.
Thank you, Robbin.
Coming from the background of poverty and abuse and addictions, how did you begin to shift your perspective early on in life to say, I didn't want that for my life?
Well, there was a couple of experiences, specific experiences in my life where it really made me step back and go, okay, enough. And with those experiences, that's when I learned to call myself a hostage negotiator of the mindset, because it's our mind really that's holding us hostage all the time in every situation. And when you think about, a life in addictions, it's our mind that we are telling some kind of a story over and over about. And we're seeking things from the external world because we don't know how to sit with faith and with guidance in our internal world, in our heart, and say, okay, wait a minute, those experiences are behind me. And who or what can I reach out to, right? And it's very challenging when we're in the middle of something to be vulnerable and to say, hey, I need help.
Yes, yes. For someone that might be in the middle of it and that they don't realize that they are in the middle of it, what would you advise them to do?
Well, we generally do, I believe, have some kind of an awareness when we start, when our life is on a frozen pattern, so to speak, right? And so the things that we normally do with ease, they're hidden behind these consistent, internal chatter. And we can feel it in our stomach, the knots and the fear, right? And, the frustration and the worry. And it's at those times when we have to just really start monitoring our thoughts and going, wait a minute, what's the next best thought? What's the next best thought? Because when we stop and think about it, the worry that is there, that story that we've told ourselves, like, oh my gosh, I'll never get through this, that is there because we've practiced it.
Mm,
And so we need to go, okay, wait a minute. And just to, physically out loud say that, say, wait a minute, that's not my next best thought.
yeah.
And it will take a lot of practice and patience with yourself, but it makes a world of difference.
Mhm.
And then it's not about asking, like, who can help me? It's like, okay, so what can I do today? Where can I be led today? So changing the questions so that our so that we can create something new in our physical life. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. And the fact that you said, it's not going to happen all at once, but it's just a journey, basically. It seems like, it's where that mind chatter just continues, and it will continue if we allow it. But how do we kind of shift that perspective? And I love that you speak on that. How would you describe a hostage negotiator of the mindset?
Well, it is kind of some key terms that I thought of for myself, and I often, when people introduce me to the stage, I'll put that in my bio. And it really is because our ego is designed to keep us safe.
Mm-hmm.
It's designed to keep us in a comfort zone. So it will do whatever it can to protect us. So if we have survived something as a child, we recreate that because we know that that's safe, that's comfortable. We've done it before. I'll just stay here. And so we just keep recreating that. So you have to negotiate with your mind all the time and go, wait a minute, define what it is I'm worried about in specific terms. And then write that down and then ask yourself, okay, is this happening today in this moment? Because often worry and fear means we're either too far into the future or too far into the past. And it's just something to kind of keep us grounded and centered in the moment. Go, wait a minute, okay, it's not happened yet. Let me just breathe. Who do I know that maybe I can reach out to?
Mm-hmm.
And when the mind says, oh, but it's going to cost you something, go, okay, I don't know that yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've found, like in my own personal life, there's been many people who I've been very surprised at who have really helped me because I've told myself, you know what, I'm going to find somebody. I'm just going to call and see what happens. And I've been blessed with miracles so many times. And I know that other people could have that blessing as well.
Just from having that open mindset that miracles
Yes.
can have. Yes, yeah, I love that. Yeah. And it's so true because when we close off our minds and our hearts and just our intuition itself, it's like we're blocking our blessings.
Yes. And
Mhm.
I do understand what it feels like when we're caught in the world in the middle of this whirlwind
Yes.
and we don't allow ourselves to, okay, wait a minute, I'm just going to stop.
Yes.
Is what I'm thinking about currently happening right now? And often there might be some part of it that we know that it's going to face, but it's not today in this moment. That's what I'm trying to say. And so give yourself the luxury of pause buttons and
Mm.
breathe and use punctuation to help you. So we often keep ourselves in a closed mindset. And so negotiate with your mind again. And instead of saying, I'm so stuck, period, say, I'm so stuck, comma.
Mm.
I wonder who I can reach out to. I'm so stuck, comma, at this moment, but things may get better if I, and then change the way that you speak to yourself so that there's room for movement in your voice. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, that's beautiful. Yes. I never thought about that like that. Use your life as punctuations. I love that.
Yes. It's
Have
worked a lot in my life. It's like, wait a minute, okay, I'm keeping myself in my own box by saying, oh, it'll never work, period.
Right, right. Or
Right? And
exclamation mark.
right? And when you say that, just practice. And if you just say it that way, you feel the tightness. But when
Yes,
you add a comma there, there's an expansion inside. It's
yes,
like, oh,
yes,
if
yeah,
even just for a few minutes you have freedom, then that's a few great moments.
yes, yes. Have you always had the passion of speaking and helping others?
I always have. I don't really know where it came from. Maybe I've been guided. Maybe this is the purpose of everything that's happened in my life, but I've always kind of been able to see at a deeper level, and I've always believed and wanted to help the underdog, so to speak.
Yeah. I guess also just seeing the world in a different angle, or eagle's eye view.
Yes,
Hmm.
I have a program, and I work a lot with people who are labeled at risk. And
Mm,
I like to say, why can't we be labeled as at risk for success?
mm,
So, even the labels that we attach, people who we are attaching that own that. So let's give them something different to own. Let's give them a warmer blanket to wrap around themselves, right? I'm at risk for success because really, when we're going through our pain, there is an opportunity for success there.
yes.
So let's keep that like, okay, I'm at risk for success. It might take me a while, but I will get there.
Yes. If you allow it. Yes.
Yes.
And it all starts with perspective.
It sure does. And I know I'm speaking right now from a place where I'm in front of some of my past experiences, but I can easily go back there and know that, okay, I was doing it then. And so that's why I understand what it's like to have to go through that journey of, okay, because there was a time in my life where I used to listen to speakers such as myself, and I would go, oh, yeah, well, it's easy for them to say they're not in the middle of it,
Yeah.
right? And then you listen to them talking on the other side to you who are standing in that pain period of your life, going, well, it's easier for them, but it does come from a place of love and passion and going, you know what? It will work.
Yes. What was it like being on the other end and having to take that leap of faith and throughout your journey to get to where you are now? What was that transition like for you?
Well, I believe that because I would listen to these other people so often, and I would go, oh, it's so easy for you to say because, growing up, like you said in my introductory, in that narrative, I felt very alone. And so I would find any kinds of clips in the media, whatever, to listen to, read books. And I realized that that was conditioning a new muscle in my mind.
Mm,
So even though I would get very frustrated and go, oh, well, it's easy for them to say, I would start practicing and going, okay, can I at least just say those words right now? Because the mind doesn't know if it's real or not. So can I just say those words? Is there anything stopping me from saying that? And the mind is a muscle and we need to use it.
mm.
Otherwise, it just sits there like any other muscle part of our body and it doesn't do us any good.
Yes, yeah. Thank you for explaining that. Where did your passion for being an advocate for mental health start? Where did that come from?
My own journey, I believe, of not wanting other people who have been through the similar family narratives that I've had to feel alone. And I wanted to start putting myself out there and saying, look, I understand the journey because I've lived that journey. I
Mhm,
understand where you're coming from. You're not alone.
mhm,
I've been there too. And I know what it felt like for me when I felt like I was all alone. And how can I trust anybody? How will I know? And people don't talk, right? And so it's like I wanted to be on a platform and share my vulnerability and say, hey, look, you're not alone. There's other people around you right now who, even though they're not on a platform speaking, have likely shared this with you.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. I love that you said you have to share you shared your vulnerability. I think that's important with connecting with other people, especially
Yes.
people that are going through any kind of challenges. And because we don't speak, we don't talk about our personal challenges to each other. And I think we hide them so much. But when we open up and become vulnerable, then we can connect to each other and show that we're more alike than different.
Yes, very true. And I think that's part of a conditioning from society.
Yes.
And it's also part of our own conditioning, where again we need to negotiate with our mind and go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There are some people in my life and they appear kind. Maybe I'll test the water. You can do that too, right? It's like when we learn to swim, we don't just jump in the middle of the deep end, we test it.
Right.
And so test the people around you with bits and pieces of your life, because you never know who has been put there to help you.
Hmm.
Because a thought to me is a prayer, right? So just saying thank you is a prayer. And when people come into my life, and if I'm not saying thank you, and if I'm not keeping my mind open to, is this the person who has a missing piece of the puzzle? Then I could be missing a great gift. And
Hmm.
I'm pushing away those very people that my thoughts are asking for. Boy, I sure wish someone would help me. And then people show up and I don't say anything, right? So I need to be curious about what's in my life and why it's there. Because
Yeah.
a curious mind is an open mind.
Yes. Because if not, you can miss the opportunity.
Yes, very
Hmm.
easily.
Yeah.
And I
I mean,
think about how many opportunities I might have missed.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah. And just every day, all of us, we have so many opportunities that we have missed. And hopefully they'll come back around.
Yes.
Believe that they do. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the number one reason for people to get stuck in life, in your opinion? To be stuck on just that I guess that mind that stuck mindset.
Are you asking me what is the number one factor that gets people stuck? Is that,
Yes, yes.
I think it's the fear of the unknown. And really, every day is an unknown.
Yes.
But we don't think about it that way because we go with the man-made time, right? It's like, oh, I have a schedule. At 6, I'm going to do this, and at 7, and at 8, and at 9, et cetera, et cetera. And so we feel that, okay, there is no unknown if I have a timetable, but I don't know at 8 o'clock if what I have planned is going to work. So really every day is an unknown. So if that helps, go, you know what? I'm ready for the unknowingness of something good to happen. Like again, change your vocabulary to change the vibration and the energy that you're feeling inside to help get you through those kind of muddier parts of your day or of your life or of your journey.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Changing your vocabulary. That's important. That's very important.
Yes.
It goes a long way.
It really does. Even when you're in the middle of something,
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in situations where I've had to go to a food bank, for example, at Christmas time to get food and donations for kids, for
Hmm.
my own children, because that was part of the journey and the narrative that I repeated until I learned that, hey, wait a minute,
Hmm.
things can be different. So even in that circumstance for me, I learned to say, okay, I have what I need today. Who
Hmm.
can help me tomorrow? How do I make tomorrow better? So I would really, really practice on changing how I spoke, because changing how I spoke would change my internal and external view of what I was going through.
Mm. Do you believe the universe works for us even when we are dealt a challenging hand?
Yes, I do. It took me a long time to really feel that. I had to get out of my own way. but I have a sign in my Jeep where it's one of those signs where you put it in your window and so people on the outside will see it in reverse, but it reflects to you.
Yeah.
And it says, everything is always working out for me.
Mm.
And I remember there's a couple of instances that come to my mind where people would laugh and go, ha ha ha, that doesn't work. For example, I was directing a play and it was winter time and I was running late and I had to get to the theater on time and I had a flat tire.
Mhm.
And so, luckily enough, I had AMA in Canada here, Alberta Motor Association, and they would come and fix my flat tire. And the guy was saying to me when he showed up, like, what does that sign say? And I said to him, things are always working out for me. And he goes, oh, I bet you want to take that out now because you're here with a flat tire in the cold. And I said, no, you're here. I'm blessed that I had enough money to have this opportunity to call you here. So things did work out for me.
Right.
And he just like, oh,
He didn't know how to respond to that.
right? Yeah. And again, I know that in the moment you think, well, okay, I'm going to the food bank. This is not working out. But you see, it's like, okay, I've got some food.
Yeah.
And even though it's not the best place for you to be in, there was something there for you and there were people there for you, and so it did work out at some level. And maybe that's hard to swallow, but that's how we start seeing the world differently. And when we can see the world differently, we can see people for the gifts of who they are and not as an obstacle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Beautifully said. Do you believe that every person we meet um is meant for us to meet, no matter
I
what the problem, no matter what the situation is, if it's good or bad?
I do, and I also believe that sometimes those people that come into our lives, we are there for their learning as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well said. So, Lori, I've enjoyed this so much. Well, is there anything that you would like to share with the audience? Any last words or anything that you would like to share with us?
I guess I would just like to, really emphasize that the sky is not the limit, your mindset is. And just have faith, and even whatever situation you're in right now, look at the people who are around you and go, could this person have part of the puzzle for me?
Mm,
And be, have a curious mind and be open to your own journey.
yeah, I love that. I love that. I'm going to ask you a few questions that I ask all my guests.
Okay.
Who or what is God or the divine to you?
I feel that God and the divine to me is everything that's around me. It's the pause button in my life. So if I go, ah, and if I allow my eyes to fall on something and I say thank you, I think that is God. So when you show up in my life, you're an essence of that vibration. If a dog bites me, that's an essence of a vibration. So I just feel God is an energy force,
Mm,
and God is always there with us and for us. He's not doing things to us, He does things for us.
I love that. What is your spiritual practice?
Nature.
Mm,
Nature is my spiritual practice. If I feel like I'm being overwhelmed or challenged or not sure how I'm going to get there, I need nature, in particular trees.
mhm.
I was told about a book once by one of my students that I thoroughly love, and it's called The Hidden Life of Trees.
Mm, okay.
And it's a picture book, plus it also has a lot of wisdom. So there's just something about nature to me that is very grounding, and whatever is happening in my life seems to melt away when I'm in nature.
Mm. Trees are powerful. I always look at
Yeah,
them. Yeah, I feel like they have a story.
really, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And there's been articles that I've seen that our thumbprints match the circles in a tree trunk.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
So we're so connected to nature, and the leaves of a tree are similar to veins in our hand when you look at the leaves, right? And so
Yes.
it's like nature, God is in nature.
Yes. Everywhere. How would you define purpose?
Well, first of all, I would look at my nature. I think that everybody's true nature is to create.
Mm.
And then I would go to the word purpose and say the purpose of creating is to share it with others.
Mm.
And I think that's what's really missing in schools, is to give children a purpose. And that purpose can just be, to shovel the sidewalk for a neighbor, to do something kind, because you're creating in that moment joy for somebody and you're sharing it. And so I think our purpose is to meet every day and every moment and say, I have a choice between fear and happiness. And it can be in small increments, but when I choose something, I need to share that. And so I want to create something good.
Mm. Wow, I've never looked at it like that. I love that you said that. That helps shift my perspective as well. Just taking it every day and what is your purpose in that very moment?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And a lot of people feel like, oh, I have to, find a cure for something. It's like, no, your purpose is to create.
Yeah.
When you cook a meal, you're creating,
Hmm.
right? And you're sharing that, and you're sharing the emotions that you put into that. So do everything as much as you can at some level of intention of joy.
Yeah. Beautiful. What or who inspires you?
Oh, there's been so many people. I think who has inspired me the most recently is because I teach part-time in an addictions program, and it's been my blessing to hear their stories when they have an assignment where they're writing out a journal assignment, for example. They inspire me because they've been judged. We judge ourselves, others judge us. They didn't make it through school, and now they're back again in a vocational college. And they inspire me to remember that I'm speaking to people in pain.
Mm.
And so they inspire me to not judge and to allow whatever emotion is there to be there and to offer guidance. So they keep me working on myself so that I am a teacher and a student every day.
Mm. Wow. What has life taught you so far?
Life has taught me to be curious,
Hmm.
and life has taught me that I need to not take things seriously and to laugh even when I'm in the middle of something that I'm going to label. And an event can just be an event, but it changes when I assign a numerical value to it. And so I like to say, well, I'm having an interesting event today. So life has taught me a lot, but I've also been open to the learnings and to be able to call them blessings.
Mm. I have enjoyed this conversation, Lori. Where can people find you?
I have a website, and it is echoofyes.com. So you just add the HTTP, and you can also email me at Lori at echoofyes.com. And I'd love to hear your story.
Perfect. I will go ahead and put all of that in the show notes, as including your website as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's been a blessing that I have been able to work through my life in order to have you brought to me.
Same here. Thank you so much, Lori. It has been an honor.
Thank you, Robin. Have a beautiful new year and new moment.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to another episode of Conversations with Robbin. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do not forget to subscribe and like. Remember, every week we have new guests on our shows. Conversations that empower, inspire, and enlighten.